our next speaker woke up one day and probably needed one of those hugs from John. When she decided on a whim to quit her engineering career, pack everything up without that much money, and move halfway around the world to Florence. She bought a one-way ticket and she didn't look back. And she brought her 2 cats with her also. So as we're about to learn, that set her down a path that she is still exploring today. And she's now an award-winning artist, an engineer, an acupuncturist, and an expert in the science of light, flow, and color. She combines all these disciplines to teach people around the world how to biohack their performance and their productivity, including Dave. And she joins us now to give a talk that will surely change the way we see the world around us. So please join me in welcoming Leanne Venier to the stage.
I need my toy. There you go. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I can't see anybody, but I can tell you're out there. Everybody sufficiently caffeinated? Yeah? Good. Okay, I would like to start by having 20 volunteers come to the stage. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. Okay, so the title of my talk is From Photons to Biophotons to Flow, the Power of Color and Light for a Bulletproof Body and Brain. If I'm a little bit froggy, it's because I've been talking nonstop for 2 days at my booth. Am I too loud? I feel like I've got an echo going on. Okay. So a little bit about my background for those of you who haven't read my rather extensive bio. I used to be an engineer. I'm an artist, flow state expert, Eastern medicine practitioner, scientist, medical researcher, color and light expert, entrepreneur, all of these things that I integrate together. Everybody always wants to know how I went from engineering to art, so I always have to tell that story. So I've always been very right-brained and left-brained, and very creative as a child, writing, drawing, that sort of thing all the time, and also very into science and mathematics. So when I decided to go to university, I chose to study mechanical engineering and ended up working at Lockheed, designing submarines, of all things. But it was so stifling for me. It felt very non-creative and very corporate. I don't know if any of you are in a corporate job. Anybody? Can't see your hands, but yeah. So it can be a little bit stifling at times. For me, it wasn't a good fit. I was getting sick all the time. Not a good thing. So I was trying to find different right brain outlets. I took a course on various untapped aspects of the brain, and that was where I first got the exposure to how profoundly we are influenced by color. And we did this exercise where the teachers put up colored panels all around the room, and all we had to do was go and stand in front of each one of those colored panels and pay attention to what we felt inside our bodies and emotionally. And it was so amazing how just looking at different colors had these different physiological effects, and I could feel these different emotions come up and all sorts of different physiological changes, shifts in my body just from staring at colors. So that was kind of my first introduction to how profoundly we are influenced by color. Then I'm still like in this engineering career. I get really, really sick. I'm lying in bed for 10 days. I cannot get out of bed. I'm just getting worse and worse. And my intuition says, you have to quit this job and you have to move to Italy. So you heard a little bit about that in the intro. So I just packed up everything. I bought a ticket for 5 weeks later. I packed up my cats and I moved to Florence, Italy. I didn't speak the language, didn't know anybody, and had $7,000 in savings. Not something I normally would do, but anyway, it was a good move. I spent 7 years there and studied all kinds of alternative healing modalities, a lot of them that integrate color and light. So I've been doing this for quite a while. And then I came back to the United States and spent 4 more years studying acupuncture, Zen Shiatsu, Jungian psychology, and all about how color and light interact with different meridians in the body. My slideshow is telling me I'm talking too slow. Okay, that did it by itself. So I started painting just as a creative outlet, and I intuitively kind of felt like, what will happen if I just start painting with the colors that I'm craving? And what happened was it served as a catalyst and a catapult into flow state. So I started creating these paintings that were way beyond I was a beginner painter. So I started getting international recognition in my first year. So these are the kind of things that can happen when you know how to use color and light for, using it as a catalyst for getting into flow state. And then you get all of these synchronicities synchronicities start happening and people are finding me. And anyway, all these amazing things that happened right off the bat as a beginner artist. Obviously, I left my healing practice. I had been working with cancer patients, and I started doing the full-time art thing. Within just a few years, I was making 6 figures from my art sales, and that is what then funded my ability to teach about all this stuff. So it just kind of happened very organically. I started getting invited to teach at major medical centers, conferences like Mensa. I'm speaking this spring for the second time at the Big Brain and Neuroscience Conference. So I'm bringing validity in science to what has previously been considered kind of a woo-woo or esoteric healing modality, color and light therapy. So that we do need color and light. They're essential nutrients for healing cells, preventing cancer and curing disease. So basically, my vision is to, share this information because we can all use this for self-healing and bring in the physics, the science, the ancient healing wisdom, and explain it to people in really plain, simple English. So you don't need to have a physics degree to understand this. So, and I teach people how to use colors, LED, sunshine, that sort of thing for self-healing preventive medicine. And bridging the gap between the biophysicists and the doctors, because there's a huge gap between what's going on in the research realm and between the end users, doctors, and hospitals. So, and also there's a lot of pseudoscience that's popping up out there on the web. So I'm going to teach you guys how to know what real science is and how to know when you're hearing real information that's valid. So basically, this is kind of like a representation of what we're going to talk about. It's like how to use colors, LED lights, and sunlight, which all emit photons, and how you take that into your body, and they convert into biophotons that support physical health, emotional health, and consciousness. So I want to start with a little video. This is less than 5 minutes long. And again, I want to have 20 volunteers. No, I'm just kidding. So we're going to start the video, and all you have to do is pay attention to the screen and just focus on the colors and just breathe slowly and deeply. So it'll kind of bring the energy back down. Did I do something? I did that. Oops.
We'll start it again.
Thank you. I hit a button. Don't let me play with toys. Put that down. Okay, whoops. Why is this playing again? Go. Next. What's happening? We're not supposed to go again. Okay, it's over. Okay, did anybody have any particular colors that they felt drawn to? I don't know if I can see your hands. If you did, just raise your hands. Yes? Blue? Reds? Whites? Yellow? Okay, so that's very typical. So what I'm gonna be talking about is how we actually crave colors like we crave nutrients and vitamins. So when you are craving certain colors, a really good thing to do, just like if you're craving an orange, eat the orange, bring that color into your life. So I'm going to talk about why that is. Okay, so basically we evolved to live and thrive under all the colors and rays and sunlight. And most people don't actually think of sunlight as having color except for when we see a rainbow in the sky, right? So, but this is actually what we are experiencing all the time. Every time you go out under sunlight, you're getting all those colors. And all light contains colors, whether it is artificial or natural. So in this case, you can see, you've got warm LEDs, cooler LEDs. The warm ones have more red, orange, and yellow. The cool ones have more blues. That will be significant here in a minute. And if everybody doesn't know what LED stands for, it's light emitting diode. All colors combined form white light. So this is something that we see in all of our LED screens. When you have all these different colors of light combined to form white light. So I'm kind of giving you like a little basics in physics because a lot of people don't remember this stuff from elementary school or high school. So it's kind of important for what we'll be talking about later. So if it's too simple, just know that something more complex will be coming. And there will be a quiz. Okay, so white light from sunlight, all of the colors split up when you put them through a prism. If everybody remembers Newton's experiment, passing white light through a prism, dark side of the moon. Yeah, so that's where you see, again, the white light, the color, all the colors that are in sunlight that get split up into the 7 spectral colors. So you can't, not only does all light have color within it, you cannot see color without light. So color and light are synonymous. You cannot have, they're basically the same thing. You cannot have one without the other. So as you can see, this guy standing staring at one of my paintings, that's illuminated so he can see the red coming from the painting. But this painting in the lower right-hand corner is it's actually a very brilliant teal, but it's in the dark here. So without the light, you can't see the color. So that's a simple explanation of it. Here's another little review, physics review. Electromagnetic spectrum. You've got all of these, the radio waves, microwaves, everything is on, it's all energy, and it's all on this spectrum, and they are measured in wavelengths. What comes from sunlight is the infrared, the visible light, and the ultraviolet. And infrared means below red. For people that don't know that, you don't think of it. That way it's easy to remember. Infrared, then red, so it's below red, and it's radiation. It's not actually classified as light. Technically, a lot of people call it light. It's radiation because it's not visible. It does not illuminate. Ultraviolet, same thing. It's radiation. And you've got, in ultraviolet, everybody's heard of UVA and UVB. We also get a little bit of UVC, but mostly UVA and UVB. And in the infrared range, you've got near infrared, mid-infrared, and far infrared. And that's going to be really important, too, because they're extremely different as far as how our bodies take them in and use them. But all of these have different healing properties. Whether you get the wavelengths from a natural source like sunlight or an artificial source like LED, because they're just wavelengths of energy. Okay, and the colors in sunlight are particularly important, and a lot of people, we talk a lot about, has everybody heard about UVB and vitamin D connection? Pretty well covered in the media these days, right? A few years ago, that wasn't even really well known. And now a lot of people are hearing about near infrared and the mitochondrial stimulating. Everybody here, I imagine, knows what mitochondria are. Dave talks about them all the time, right? Okay, so the visible light in sunlight makes up 43% of sunlight. It's a huge percentage of sunlight. all of those colors have different healing properties. So when you go out under sunlight, you're getting all of those color energies in addition to the infrared and UV. So we actually need all of those energies that are coming from sunlight. We're just like plants. You would never think of taking a plant and sticking it in a dark room, right? Never giving it any sunlight. You know it would die pretty quickly, right? So, and all animals, all of our circadian rhythms, everything like that, animals know how to hibernate. We start to get more lethargic in the winter and slow things down. Animals know when they need to fatten up for winter, like this little squirrel. Have you ever seen the fall's coming and they're just like in a feeding frenzy nonstop? And they don't always get that fat, but this guy's pretty cute. And he says winter is coming, big deal. I am like so ready. He's got a nice layer of fat. If you ever wonder why you start getting hungrier in the winter, we're kind of like, that's your circadian rhythms, your appetite, sleep cycle, all of that sort of thing, your mood, cellular function, immune system is all controlled by the colors that are found within sunlight. So basically, when you go out under sunlight, you're getting what's like a multivitamin effect. You get full spectrum vitamin effect from all of those healing wavelengths in sunlight every time you go out under sunshine, just like taking a multivitamin pill every day, if you do that sort of thing. But if you have a cold coming on, you are going to be more likely, instead of taking 20 multivitamins, you're going to take a higher dose of vitamin C, maybe an extra zinc, or whatever it is that you want to take to amp up on to help your body boost its immune system to fight the cold. So like you would take extra vitamin C in the case of light therapy, in the case of jaundice, for example, you would get more blue light. Has everybody heard of when babies are born and they develop jaundice and in the hospital they'll stick them under a blue light? A lot of people have heard of that, or they have a baby that they had to do that with, or a friend. It's a very common treatment. It was discovered in the 1950s in the UK. I would tell you it's a funny story about that. I probably don't have time. I'm going to be talking very fast because I have a lot of information to cover, but if I get a chance, I'll come back to it. Anyway, you can also take your same baby, stick it under sunlight, because if you see here in the sunlight, blue light is found within sunlight. So this is kind of like giving your baby extra multivitamins. It takes a little bit longer if you put the baby under sunlight, or you can get a really nice big hefty hospital bill and put the baby under blue light. So anyway, it's cheaper. Sunlight is free. So in addition to the UVB vitamin D benefits of sun exposure, there are all kinds of benefits to sunshine. So everybody has grown to be afraid of sunshine, thinking that it causes cancer, when in fact all of the research that's being done globally is proving that not only does it not cause cancer, it prevents cancer in pretty much every single type of disease. So, and outdoor workers are even far less likely to get melanoma than indoor workers. So what is bad is sunburn. I'll talk about that here in a second. But vitamin D, melatonin production, red and near infrared, they boost immune function, mitochondrial performance. Everyone has cancer cells in our body all the time. We're always creating cancer cells. A healthy immune system, though, will be able to fight the cancer, and it will never turn into a tumor. So the importance of having healthy mitochondria is just, we're not even talking about it enough yet, because it's so important, because it really gives you a strong immune system so you don't allow those cancer cells to turn into something like a tumor. So the World Health Organization has labeled night shift work as an industrial hazard. It's been linked to cancer, all types of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. So when you're not getting sunshine, you're getting all of these health problems. And when you get sunshine, you have natural stress reduction. They've actually scientifically discovered that when you get sunshine, it's better than any antidepressant that's on the market, anxiety drug, or any kind of pill like that. Sunshine is more effective at beating all of those. And you are twice as likely to die from any cause when you don't get regular sunshine in the summer months. They did a 20-year study with 30,000 women in Sweden that proved that. So there's a lot more information about this on my website, but I'm just kind of flying through this. But don't get sunburn. So sunburn is where the problem is. What you want to do is get regular chronic sunshine and no sunscreen. And again, there's more information on my website if you want details about all that. 3 ways that we absorb color and light. And just to let you know, photons are little packets of light energy. They act as particles or waves. You can absorb photons through your eyes when just looking at things. And you see an example here. All the colors come and they reflect, they get absorbed by the apple except for the red. Uh-oh. Hold on. Which is bounced off, and then it goes into the eyes. And when you're using light therapy, if you're using individual wavelengths of light, like in treating jet lag, you can use blue light, isolated wavelengths to do that, to treat that are absorbed through your eyes. Via the skin, you can absorb colored light through your skin. When you get the sunlight, you get the multivitamin effect. And when you get single LEDs, you get the single vitamin effect, like the jaundice, and then using red light for treating collagen, anti-aging, that sort of thing, getting rid of wrinkles. And then the third way that we absorb color and light is through our light energy field. And I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but in 2009, they finally developed a camera that can photograph the living light emissions that we all give off. We actually give light off. It comes out of our DNA. And Dr. Fritz Albert Popp in 1972 started doing research on this. He built the first photomultiplier that could actually measure biophoton emissions. So this is an image here of a CCD camera that was developed in Kyoto University. And these are images of this guy here with the light coming off of his body. So this is infrared, this is heat. This is actual photons of light that are coming off of his body. So this is really important in terms of like a whole new movement of medicine, because we now know that we actually take in light, we use it for cellular communication, and we give off light. And that's all living beings. So here is an example of a biophoton image of a person's hand. And on the right, you can see that it seems like a perfectly healthy hand. But here on the left, there's something going on. There's oxidative stress. There's been tissue damage. Can anybody guess what happened to this person's finger to cause this tissue damage? Wait, what? No, it's not visible on the black and white photo. Somebody said it. No, smoking. Smoker. The cigarette smoke caused the damage. So you can see on their 2 fingers here. That's why it's not visible in the black and white photo. But it did damage the cells in the tissue itself. So biophoton imagery will show this. It will also show cancer in the body. So you can use it for photographing cancer and without even knowing anything about what's going on in the body, because what's going on here is there's all of this oxidative stress going on. This is the cancer cells that are multiplying rapidly. This is a photograph of a mouse, in case you're wondering, what is that lump? This is a black and white photo of a mouse. They injected it with cancer cells. And this is the tumor that's growing here rapidly. So when there's non-coherent biophoton activity, we actually are designed to take in non-coherent light, turn it into coherent light, like laser light in our bodies. We're designed that way. But we should not be emitting non-coherent light. I won't have enough time to explain that during this talk, but basically, when there's all of that activity going on, that's non-coherent light emissions, and we don't want that. That actually is a bad thing in the body. Okay, but you do need a regular intake of all the light wavelengths for a healthy body, brain, and spirit. So all of these things help to support flow as well. Flow state, which is getting into that hyperfocus state, the zone. So a lot of people ask, well, if we need all the colors, what about blue light? Because has everybody heard about blue light and it's bad for you and all this stuff, and your tablet and your computer has blue light and your television. Do you guys hear about that? Okay. It is bad for you, but it's only bad for you at night because it shuts off melatonin production, causes insomnia, whole cascade of bad effects that happen from loss of sleep, which I'll go through in the next slide. But blue light during the day is healthy and necessary. You actually need to get that blue light because it sets your circadian rhythm. Otherwise, your body doesn't know what time of day it is. So the blue light into the green, you can see here what controls our circadian input is this kind of these range of wavelengths. And much stronger in the blue range. But if we don't get that blue light during the day, then we have no idea what time it is. So you do need the blue light during the day. And this is, again, all of these things are because we evolved that way. We evolved to know that when we're seeing blue light that is coming through the atmosphere, that means it's the middle of the day. So you don't want to be out in the field, hunting and falling asleep and then getting eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or whatever would eat a caveman back then. I don't know what animals were around back then. But you had to be awake. It was actually, if you were going to fall asleep in the middle of the day, you probably were not going to be around to pass along your gene pool. So you were that's called Darwinian natural selection. Okay, so anyway, at night and in the morning, there's a predominance of red, orange, and yellow wavelengths that come through. Very little blue light because it gets scattered. I mean, you can kind of even see how up here, it's like bouncing off and going upwards, so it's not coming down. So you're seeing red, orange, and yellow predominantly. So in the morning and in the evening, we're not supposed to have blue light. In the middle of the day, we're supposed to have blue light. It tells our body what time of day it is. So if you don't get good sleep, I'm sure everybody has experienced this. Have you ever had a bad night's sleep? Anybody? Nobody here. Okay, well, weight gain and obesity are some of the things that can happen. Diabetes, clock gene disruption. This is a new study, an epigenetic study. It actually changes your genes. Even one night of poor sleep, loss of sleep. I would love to talk an hour about that, but I don't have time. Creates high stress levels, accelerated aging. I mean, you can kind of feel this. You have one night of poor sleep, you're kind of lethargic the next day. 2 nights in a row, you feel pretty crappy. It's a snowballing effect. But not only that, your brain doesn't have time for its nightly defrag. So there are all kinds of brain disorders that result, like Alzheimer's. And poor memory, focus, concentration. And like the guy here on the right, he's very productive, right? So you're not going to get a lot done if you haven't had a good night's sleep. There's only so much bulletproof coffee you can drink to bypass the fact that you haven't slept well. So getting blue light, natural daylight is the best. Adjustable LEDs, I'll talk about a little bit more about those. Those are kind of the wave of the future because they can really emulate what's going on outdoors in daylight. And they're using them a lot in Europe. I'll talk a little bit more about them down the road here. A lot of research studies now show that when you get blue light during the day, you get more melatonin production at night. And you can experience this for yourself. If you go out and get sunlight, that's why, kids that spend time outdoors instead of in front of the computer, you don't have to tell them to go to bed because they're going to be tired. They just naturally get tired because your body starts to produce melatonin at night, but not if you're looking at those blue screens all the time, because that's constantly telling your body, middle of the day, be wide awake. So when you get better sleep, getting daylight or blue light during the day, you sleep better, obviously, better concentration, reduced ADHD, and this is for both children and adults, so a lot better focus, better health, and greater productivity. If you can't get natural sunlight, and if you live somewhere that it's cloudy or it's the middle of winter, you can use a blue light therapy device. They're really inexpensive. I use the Philips Go Light Blue. That's the one in the picture here. They're like $75 on Amazon. Really quickly resets your circadian rhythm. It works for treating seasonal affective disorder, depression, things like that. It works 2 times faster than green light, by the way, because now there's some green light devices coming out. Both of them can damage the eyes, so don't ever shine either one into your eyes. But yeah, with this kind of thing, it's very fast. Your circadian rhythm will get reset by 1 hour. If you have seasonal affective disorder, it will change it very quickly, and it's really cheap. And that's so you don't have to it can be freezing cold outside, you can use one of these. You can bring them to your office. You can even use them in the afternoon, and it gives you an energy boost in the afternoon. So it helps with all these different things that I mentioned. Also for jet lag, great for jet lag. You can travel with these, they're awesome. PMS and depression also. Okay, so in general, the most popular blue light LED therapy is using different wavelengths of blue light for, like we saw earlier, the neonatal jaundice is a very common example. Blue light kills very strong acne bacteria. It kills MRSA as well. Other microbial infections, it's very good at killing things. if you have really bad acne, it works better synergistically when you combine it with red. The red stimulates the mitochondria and boosts the immune system, the immune function of the cells, so it helps the healing. Circadian rhythm, delayed sleep phase syndrome. If you can't go to bed, if you keep going to bed later and later and later, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then you wake up in the morning and you're so tired and you can't get going, that's delayed sleep phase syndrome. You can reset that really quickly. Okay, so I'm going to talk also about red light and near-infrared biophotonic LED therapy. But first, I want to talk about why LEDs are the best choice for light therapy, because this is the thing. I'm hearing a lot of questions. People email me all the time, and they're reading a lot of wrong information on the web, and don't ever go to forums and think that's a good source of information, because you have everybody is an authority on there. And oh my God, it's amazing. Where do these people learn this stuff? It's incredible what I've read on these forums. Like, holy cow. Did they know what the electromagnetic spectrum is? Anyway, I thought about putting some examples in here because they're very funny. See, now you guys know more than most of these people, just knowing that little bit of information from the electromagnetic spectrum and knowing where infrared and UV are. That's a good start. Okay, so other light sources like lasers and incandescents. They're all just different photon delivery systems. But I'm an engineer. I go for the latest, best, fastest technology. I mean, I think most of you guys are into that thing, as well. You want the best, the fastest. You want the fastest results. You want the best that's going to give you the desired results with the shortest effort or the minimum effort. Okay, so anyway, LEDs are the best for that. In Europe, this is what I was talking about earlier, about these adjustable LEDs. We don't have these here yet, or I haven't seen them, but these are LED lights where you can change, depending on the time of day, you can change the white. Remember how I talked about all the colors mixed together and make white light? You can make a warm light or you can make a cool white light, and depending on what time of day it is, you want to change that. So in the morning, you're going to amp up on the blue light, and you are going to amp up again on the blue light in the afternoon after lunch, when people tend to have that energy dip. Anyway, it's amazing for increasing productivity, again, reducing ADHD, all of this stuff, increasing melatonin at night. It's like when companies in Netherlands are using this in their businesses, it's not like fully widespread, but this is something that's going to be coming here, hopefully, to the United States in the near future. They're using them in schools in the UK, in Germany. It's increasing the productivity, reducing illness. It's amazing how using LEDs, they're fully adjustable. You can emulate sunlight very effectively. You can't do that with any other existing photon delivery source right now, whether it's incandescence, fluorescence, anything else. You can't do that. So the LEDs in general are the best for white light applications. LEDs are also the best for targeted single vitamin healing. When I was talking about taking one wavelength and using it for that, multivitamin, getting a stronger dose of vitamin C, like that, you can do all of that with LEDs. You can make whatever wavelength you want, a targeted wavelength. And we know that there are synergistic effects when you take certain individual wavelengths and combine them together. And there are certain effects that the body responds more strongly to certain wavelengths for certain healing effects than other wavelengths. So this is another thing. There's a lot of misinformation about that. So red and near-infrared stimulate mitochondria in the cells. It's a more complex mechanism. There's a whole cascade mechanism that happens. It hits the chromophores, the cytochrome C oxidase, but you don't need to know all that. But anyway, basically it creates energy in the cells and boosts the immune function. And near-infrared, by the way, does not create heat. I'm going to say that a few times because it's really important. Near-infrared does not create heat. Okay, so some of the questions and confusions about the science that I'm hearing lots and lots of. Can I use incandescents or heat lamps for red light or near-infrared therapy? So incandescents and heat lamps are they're both tungsten bulbs, the old Edison technology, right? You guys have seen, they've got a little filament in there. Okay, so this is a spectrometer reading, a partial spectrometer reading of an incandescent bulb. Just the old household ones, the ones that are now no longer allowed to be sold in many countries, including the United States. They're banned in more and more countries every year because they're really, really bad for the planet. So this shows you what the top line here is the light emission of sunlight. And down here, it's going to be a little bit hard to explain this, but down here on the bottom, that is the spectrometer reading of an incandescent bulb. So do you see that tiny, tiny little sliver there that's showing this piece here? That is like, I don't know, what's the percentage of that? Maybe 5%, if that, output of the total energy output of those bulbs. All of this stuff over here, first there's a little bit of near infrared, there's a little bit of colored light on the left, so that reading that you're seeing up there, that's the colored light into the near infrared. But see that number there, 700, it cuts off there. So it cuts off, you're not seeing the whole thing. And then there's all of this stuff over here that's heat. That is mid-infrared and far infrared. Mid-infrared and far infrared get absorbed by the water in our bodies. They create heat in the bodies. There's what's called thermal infrared. Not even all the wavelengths do that. But mid-infrared and far infrared do not do anything at all for mitochondrial function. They get absorbed by the water. So they're good for making you sweat. But they're not good for mitochondrial stimulation at all. So this now is a heat lamp, because a lot of people are like, well, it looks like red light therapy, it looks like near infrared therapy. It's like, but in actuality, it's got even less colored light and even less near infrared than a household incandescent bulb. So this line here, the one above it, I don't know if you guys can read it in the back, but that line above here is an incandescent bulb. And remember that tiny little sliver on the bottom? This is a different y-axis, but basically, now you look at the near infrared, not the near infrared, the heat lamp here, and it's about half of what the incandescent bulb is, right? Does that make sense? Can you follow that? So the amount of colored light that's coming out of this is even less than a household bulb, and the amount of near infrared is even less. And that chart before went all the way out here to 3,000. This one, again, is cut off. So all of these, when you see a spectrometer reading, they always have to go up and then come all the way back down. So if you ever see a little piece that goes up like this and then stops, you're only seeing part of the picture. So what you're getting basically, if you think that an infrared bulb is giving you near infrared, it's kind of analogous to you're craving a nice big fat juicy orange, and you're like, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to juice it, and I'm going to get a nice big glass of orange juice, and I'm going to drink that. I'm going to get all these nutrients and vitamin C from the orange. But you're like, nope, let me get a dropper, take one drop of orange juice, and now I'm going to put it into a big 5-gallon jug. There you go, orange juice, right? That's basically what you're getting. You're getting about this much near infrared and this much heat, mid-infrared and far infrared. So with LEDs, you can actually get near infrared LEDs that give you this much near infrared, as opposed to a household incandescent that's going to give you this much near infrared, and a heat lamp that's going to give you this much near infrared. So technically, yeah, there's a little bit of near infrared in there, just like that one drop of orange juice in the 5-gallon jug. But it's not going to do very much for your mitochondria. But yeah, they're great. They're $5 bulbs. You can make a really cheap sauna with them. So for that, they're very helpful. Saunas, I mean, you heard John Gray talking about it. They have great healing, detoxification effects. But use the right tool for the right job. So that's one of the things I keep hearing really misrepresented all the time about. And in that red that you're seeing, that's because there's a red film on those. So the little tiny bit of visible light that's coming from those bulbs is from the red film on the front, mostly. Okay. Anyway, near infrared enters the cells, no heat. Healing near infrared. The mid-infrared goes in the water. I mentioned that already. Okay, so that's a summary. Tiny percentage of near infrared. And this is by design. They're actually designed this way because they're designed to not emit very much colored light, visible light, because that makes the tungsten filament burn out a lot faster. So they're pushed to emit as much heat as possible and as much or as little of the useless stuff like color and near infrared as possible, because they're designed to be heat bulbs, to keep chickens warm, keep McDonald's food warm, or wherever they use these things. Okay. Anyway, just if you ever have any doubts about whether near infrared generates heat, I can pretty much guarantee that 99.9% of you have a near infrared device in your house. Anybody have an idea what that might be? What? Yes. Okay. So everybody's got that's pretty much always a near infrared little light bulb. Okay. So about lasers, because this is the other thing I get asked about a lot. What about lasers? Okay. So what happened with lasers? Lasers were invented just before 1968. This guy, Andre Mester in Hungary, discovered accidentally that when you shine red laser light on these mice, he was doing skin cancer research using these brand new laser technologies, and he shone laser light on these mice. And what he found was that the mice that he was shining the red laser light on, their hair was growing back faster. And he's like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? These lasers are pretty cool. And then he discovered that another wavelength of red light made wounds heal more quickly. So then everybody started thinking, oh, wow, these lasers are really awesome. Let's do all kinds of research with them and discover all of these things about them. So they were, for years and years, 30 years, they thought, or more than that, 2001, 30-something years, they thought that it was the lasers that were doing the healing. And then in 2001, NASA discovered accidentally, again, so many of these things are discovered by accident. So NASA discovered accidentally, when they were using LED lights for space, they were doing some applications in space, and they discovered, wow, red LEDs heal wounds. And here we thought it was the red lasers that we thought it was the laser light that was doing that. And it turns out it's the red light itself that is doing the healing. So all of the latest research studies now are using LEDs. Nobody's using laser light anymore because they know that it's not as effective, for one thing. Research has shown side by side when you use the same wavelength, whether it's a laser or an LED, LEDs are more effective. They cover a larger surface area because lasers are always pinpoint lights, and our bodies are not designed to take in coherent laser light. They're designed to take in non-coherent light like the sun. So this diagram on the right, you can see here that this is what sunlight looks like. It's got all these different colors of different wavelengths, which are different colors all together. And then non-coherent LEDs, which are always non-coherent, they have all of these colors, one color, but they're not in sync with each other. They're out of phase. But lasers have one color and they're in phase with each other. So what happens is it's like an additive effect. Those wavelengths get stronger and stronger. And so lasers are really good for cutting tissue, doing surgery, things like that. They're not very good for healing. They do have healing effects. Don't get me wrong. They do have healing effects, but you can do a lot of damage with lasers. You have to know how to use them. There's a lot of training that goes with them. They're extremely expensive to make, not very suitable for household use at all, and they're not as effective as LEDs. So basically, there's no benefit. It's like incandescence. As far as technology for light therapy, it's outdated technology. So again, you can cause a lot of harm. In fact, there's only been one study where they were using lasers for doing near-infrared brain. Again, remember, there's no heat from near-infrared, but you get heat from lasers. So they actually caused brain damage in the mice. It was little mice, not humans, so poor little mice. But anyway, they caused brain damage in the mice that they were doing research on because they used the laser too long, and they caused brain damage, burning the tissue. So again, we evolved to take in non-coherent light from the sun. So red and near-infrared, biophotonic light therapy. Red light stimulates the mitochondria and heals the cells. So the power, everybody here knows mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cells, kind of important. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of fly through some of these. It accelerates wound healing, stimulates hair regrowth, helps with arthritis, heals arthritis. It gets rid of inflammation. cellular regeneration, allergic rhinitis. You can actually get these little things where you shine LED lights up your nose, and it will get, or you can take an LED panel or an LED light and shine it up your nose. You don't have to get this little contraption that's only good for that, but if you want a little thing that's very cute and walk around with a little laser and little LED lights stuck up your nose. Animals love LED therapy. This is my cat on the right when she had the sniffles. I don't know if it was allergies or if she had a cold, but when she has something going on, I'll put a light out. If she wants to use it, she will, and she'll go and like stick her face right in it. I mean, if I move it, she'll move her face to go right into the light. It's amazing. And then like 20 minutes later, she's like, okay, I'm done, thank you. And then her sniffles are gone. So hospitals use red LED light for killing cancer cells, although this is not as easy to find as it once was, because you can only get this kind of therapy now at Roswell Cancer Clinic. Long story about that, but basically has to do with big pharma and insurance companies. But basically, you put in a substance, a naturally derived substance, into the body, and then you come in with red light and you kill the cancer cells. Red light stimulates mitochondria deep in the tissues, and so more research about this gets rid of pain and inflammation. This is either red or near infrared. Red, again, remember that spectrum, 600 to 1,070 nanometers, more or less, stimulates mitochondrial function. So 600 to 700 is in the red light, reddish light range, and then 700 to 1,000, that's near infrared. So gets rid of pain and inflammation, neuropathy, good for that. Again, both red and near infrared will work for that. Muscle aches and pains, red or near infrared, depending on, I usually red is better for most of these. Broken bones, shallow bones, red light works really well. Anything deeper, you want, for bigger bones, you need near infrared because red will not penetrate through the bones. Reduces cellulite, that's both red and near infrared. They've been doing research on this. I found that there's a combination of red wavelengths that it's optimal for that. Autoimmune diseases like multiple sclerosis, they're doing research on that, because what it's doing in this case, this is red light, they're using red to stimulate the immune function of the cells. So that then is healing the autoimmune issue. Cold sores, you can take red light, shine it directly on cold sores. In the UK, they have a near-infrared device that's covered by their socialized medicine. It's a little near-infrared device, but that's all you can use it for. And it's basically two tiny little, it's like, essentially you could use your remote control on your clicker thing. I just thought of that. Actually, yeah, you should try that. But red light for sure works really well. No, seriously, I'm not joking. So yeah, shining the light on the cold sore, it will actually prevent the cold sore from coming to the surface. And if it's already come to the surface, it boosts the immune system of the individual cells, and it gets rid, it's like pushes the herpesvirus back. Red light, this is new information as well, which is really fascinating, because if you shine red light on yourself, and then you shine UV light on yourself, UVA, or radiation, I just made my own faux pas. Anyway, it cancels out the photoaging damage of the UVA. It literally changes the cells to be immune to the UVA, technically, and it prevents telomere shortening. If you don't know what telomeres are, the protective end caps on DNA, and the rate of shortening of those is what determines the rate of aging. So you don't want your telomeres shortening fast. You want them to go really, really slowly. So red light interferes with UVA damage. And I personally think that it's because, again, all of these things are explained by evolution. And if you think about, back in the caveman day and to this day, if you know anybody who fishes or hunts, the best time to go out and catch fish and animals is at dawn, when the sun is just coming up. So you're going to get exposed to those red, orange, and yellow rays in the morning. And then if you're going to be out for all the rest of the day, you're going to be under a lot more UV light, because the UV and the blue is what comes through as the sun gets higher in the sky. So the red light then serves as a protection for you to be out under sunlight with your little piece of fur that's only covering your loins, and the rest of your skin is exposed. So you need some kind of protection. They didn't have non-nanoparticle zinc sunscreen back then. So anyway, that's new research. So red light therapy boosts energy, self-confidence. It does all of this stuff for anti-aging, collagen stimulation, wrinkle reduction. There are places you can go and get full red light therapy and pay a lot of money for doing those treatments. In spas, you can pay $300. You can use red light and get rid of wrinkles in just a few short weeks. Hyperpigmentation, that's another thing that's very effective for. Getting rid of mild acne as well. Although severe acne or even mild acne is much more effective when you combine it with the antibacterial effect of blue light. So that's one of my new light therapy panels there on the right. Near-infrared LED therapy, all the research that's going on in the medical realm using near-infrared, it's basically really, really powerful when you need to go through bone, again, because red will not go through bone. So if you need to penetrate the skull, they're doing all this research. It's being used for traumatic brain injury, brain trauma, optic nerve injury, age-related macular degeneration, retinal disease. And yes, people ask me all the time about whether red and near-infrared are safe for the eyes. Yes, and they're actually using it for healing applications. It may annoy you to have a bright light like that. Well, near-infrared is invisible. Did I mention that? It actually looks like there's no light coming out. You can't see near-infrared. It's not visible to the human eye. But anyway, you can shine them directly into your eyes. It won't harm your eyes. Nerve regeneration, they're using it for paralysis. So all this stuff, anything that you have to go into, spinal cord or through the skull, experimentally induced stroke, these are all these research studies that are going on around the world. And they're very effectively, there's a guy in the UK that's been doing research on Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and dementia. And he did work with this guy, Pratchett. Oh my God, I always forget his name. Anyway, he used this. This is one of the early generations of the helmet that they created. These are all near-infrared LEDs. Again, no heat emitted from near-infrared. You would not be able to put far infrared on your skull without scorching your head off. So no heat from near-infrared. So he did treatments for 3 months, 6 minutes a day. And 4 years later, after just that short period, his Alzheimer's not only stopped, like it reversed, and he was still writing. I don't know what the story is right now, but this was from the first talk I gave a few years ago. Harvard is now doing research with using near-infrared LEDs right on your head for depression and anxiety. And after 2 weeks, every single person in the study had an improvement in both depression and anxiety scores. Dramatic improvement. This is a case study. It's actually my next-door neighbor. I have an outdoor office, and I work outside, even when it's hot. I've acclimated to the heat, and I live in Austin. And we have a fence that's between us, and it's got all these vines on it. So she works in the film industry. She comes home one day, this was a few months ago, and she says, "Is the doctor in?" She said, "I have this thing on my foot. It's been driving me insane. It's gotten progressively worse over the last few days, and I can't get any work done because it's itching me so much." And I said, "Well, show it to me." So she shows me her foot, and you can see here, it's not a very clear photo, but you can kind of see it's very red and inflamed, and it's actually cracking on the top and bottom. And the reason that it's covered with vines is because she actually is sticking her foot through my fence to take this picture. I'm like, "Okay, let me take a before picture." So she's like, "What can I do?" And I said, "Here, take one of these lights. Go do a 3-minute treatment." So she does a 3-minute treatment and comes out half an hour later, and she's like, "Oh my God, the itching stopped immediately as soon as she did the first treatment." And I said, "Okay, do another one tonight, another one tomorrow morning, just 3 minutes." And so this is like 24 hours later. You can see how quickly the tissue is healing. Can you see that from the back? I don't know if it's clear back there, but it's kind of like she's got this now dry layer of skin that's now, it's not scabbing, it's just the skin is healing underneath, and there's this protective layer, and then another 24 hours later, after 2 more treatments, and they're really not very clear in this photo, but anyway, it healed very quickly. So it's pretty profound how quickly it can affect the cells and stop these kind of inflammatory responses. It's my second last slide, I think. Anyway, doing pretty good for time. Okay, power of seeing red in sports. There are all kinds of ways that we respond to color, and I wish I had more time to talk about that, but one of the things that, like in athletic competitions, red actually, when you look at it, stimulates the sympathetic nervous response, that fight or flight response. So it's like having a big cup of bulletproof coffee or taking amphetamines or cigarettes or cocaine. They all stimulate the sympathetic nervous response, and they basically are preparing you for battle. That's why it's like you're ready to, everything is tense and ready to go. So when you look at red, that's what happens. You stimulate that same sympathetic nervous response. It increases heart rate and blood flow, gets you energized, makes you feel stronger and more self-confident. So if you're a guy and you have an important meeting, you might want to wear a red tie because that will make you the alpha position. Anyway, and it intimidates opponents. And they've actually done research and found that teams that wear red win more often than teams that wear blue. Your odds of winning a sporting competition are much greater. And then red LED boosts the muscles. All this research that's going on in Brazil right now with professional athletes and NASA doing research with Navy SEALs, they're finding that even on healthy muscle, you can shine red light and it makes the muscles stronger, it regenerates them, there's less muscle fatigue, you can do more repetitions, shorter recovery times, reduced delayed onset muscle soreness, which is that thing that happens 2 days after you work out and then you're like, oh, in so much pain you can't even think about going to the gym. So all of that boosted muscle performance, and in this case, red works much better than near infrared. In most cases, unless you need to go through bone, red is more effective. Visible red, meaning you can see the light. And now they're finding, if you've ever heard about things about, well, I heard that only near infrared will penetrate through tissues and stuff like that, it's all being debunked now because they're finding that is even in these studies that when doing the same side-by-side tests using red and near infrared, they're getting stronger muscle response with the red light. And they're kind of like, that's interesting because we thought that the near infrared would go deeper, so you would think that it would have a more profound effect, but it's not. And it ties in with how the meridians and the energy channels go in, so I don't have time to go into that. But I wanted to talk about this case study. So this is actually a friend of mine. He reached out to me a few years ago because he had heard about the stuff I was teaching about color and light. Very interested. He's a stem cell expert. His name is Dr. Richard D. Hammer. He's the director of hematopathology at the University of Missouri Medical School. So last November, he decides he's going to start lifting weights again. He hasn't lifted weights since medical school. It's been a really long time. So, and he knows about, I've told him about the red light. I've sent him one of my red lights. I'm like, hey, use this so if you have pain after you're working out, use this, it'll help you recover more quickly. I said it will also help you build muscle more quickly. So he's using it, but pretty much only when he's having pain or anything like that, and it's helping. So he's making this really rapid progress. This is him at 3 months of training after not working out for decades. And then in 9 months, he's ready to go to a state competition and compete at a state level in powerlifting. So here, and he emails me the week before, he's like, what should I wear? I'm like, oh, you have to wear red. So he wears red, and he mentions it to his coach. Yeah, my friend, she's a color and light expert. She told me it's like, I need to wear red because it gives you the inside. So his coach shows up with red shirt. He doesn't say anything, he just shows up with a red shirt. He's like, he never wears red. So anyway, it's kind of funny. But, so now, 6 weeks before the competition though, Rich injured his shoulder. So he is like, oh my God, I've got a competition in 6 weeks and I've got an injured shoulder now. So now he's using the light on his shoulder 2 to 3 times a week. He's more motivated, right? So he's using it regularly. So 6 weeks of using the light heals his shoulder, and he's only using it 2 to 3. If he'd used it every day, it would have been even faster. 2 to 3 times a week. So he competes in bench press here. First ever state competition, first ever competition, 9 months of training, starts doing the light 6 weeks before. He beats the state record in bench press by 15 pounds. Pretty impressive, considering, it's been ages since he worked out at all, and now he's competing at a state level. Okay, so that's not all. The same day, he's competing in another division. Now he's doing deadlift. And he's been training. And 6 weeks again, using that light, he beats the state record in deadlift by 65 pounds. The last record was set 20 years before. It's amazing. And he said, when I talked to him after, he's like, it was easy, I could have done more. I know I could have lifted more. It was not, like, you don't get an opportunity to pick multiple weights. You kind of have to say, okay, I'm gonna go for that weight. And then you're like, that's it. But he's like, I easily could have done more. So he won 2 gold medals. This is him at 52 years old. This is him at 56. So this was just a few months ago that he did this competition. So anyway, you can see how profound the effects are. We're actually now going to be doing a research study using my light panels and working with some athletes to do more with that. Anyway, so I think, can you guys see a little bit how profound light is? Okay, so, and this is just a couple of colors that I've talked about. You know, red and near infrared, which isn't a color, and blue. And all those other colors which haven't been extensively researched, they do know in Chinese medicine, I mean, I know a lot about what those other colors can do. The scientific research hasn't caught up yet, but it will, it's getting there. So one thing I want you to remember, though, is get more sunlight. You need to get the multivitamin effect. It's free. If you are in a place that has sunshine, make sure you get sunshine, because all of those colored wavelengths, as well as the near infrared, and the UVA and the UVB, they all have healing effects. Also, if you have things that you want to specifically target, that's when you want to bring in LEDs. Specific LED lights, we evolved to live and thrive under non-coherent light. So LEDs are non-coherent. You cannot overdose on them at all. You can't get too much of it. Anyway, so you can get all of these healing benefits from individual lights. So there are only 3 things that you need to consider when you're looking for LED light therapy devices. Make sure it's the right color or wavelength that you want for treating whatever it is. Like you saw the importance of choosing between red and near infrared. Use the right tool for the right job. Is it the best color wavelength or blend of wavelengths? Again, there are these synergistic effects that happen. If you're using the right wavelengths, it means less treatment time. You are going to save time if you're using the right wavelength. The power, how much power is output from the light? You want more lumens. More lumens means less treatment time, faster results. Size matters. Yes, it is true in the case of LED lights. So you want to cover as big a surface area as possible. So that's another thing that's really important. It's like you can take one of those little tiny LED things, and then I can shine it here, I can shine it here, here, and you can be doing that all day long. And if you don't have anything else to do with your time, that's great. Buy one of those. Otherwise, you probably want something that's going to cover a larger area. So that's about it. And come and see me at booth 319 if you want to do a biophotonic light therapy demo, learn more about color and creative flow. If you sign up for my website, all of those paintings in that slideshow, by the way, were mine. You can get a lot of those as free Healing Color screensavers if you sign up for my mailing list. You go to the landing page, catalyticcolor.com/bullet. A lot of the stuff and a lot of the resources that I talked about today are on that page. If you want to read more about blue light, red light, and all of that, I've got a ton of information on my website. So there you go.
All right.
Oh, hi, Dave. How's it going?
Oh, more. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. A little bit over time. I will give you the stage.
I'm going to steal this.
Thanks.
Hug.